One of the top struggles of homeschool moms is staying consistent. It can feel like there are lots of things that are derailing us, and listen, I understand. But in the end, we just need to put our big girl pants on because we are the ones, the homeschool mom, you are the one that holds the key to consistency. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where we talk anything and everything homeschool and all that encompasses the homeschool lifestyle. I'm your host, Leigh Nguyen. I'm a mom who never intended to homeschool, and suddenly I am here, 14 years later, with 2 homeschool graduates and 1 more to go. No matter where you are in your homeschool journey, Little by Little Homeschool seeks to empower and encourage you to carry out this amazing calling of home educating and discipling your children. It's not always easy, but I'm here to walk alongside you because I promise that these years are worth all of your effort. Grab that load of laundry that needs folded, settle in at a kitchen sink to wash those dishes, or tie up those walking sneakers, and let's get into today's topic. About 2 years ago, a friend had told me when she was struggling to find her groove when she was beginning to homeschool, and she and I had met, and I guess she had shared some of the things that I had shared with her husband, and so she was struggling. And her husband reminded her of this phrase that I had put in the title that I mentioned already to you. And the phrase is, he said blank, so he said, Sarah, like Leigh says, put your big girl pants on. And when she told me that, I had a good laugh. My friend and her husband, they knew that I was using that kind of silly, catchy phrase out of love and not out of rudeness. And instead of pandering to just being in a slump, instead, it was a little bit of a swift kick in the pants out of love. And so that's what today's episode is coming from. Understand that is my posture. That is my perspective. Overall, conviction, it really motivates me. When the Lord convicts me of something in my heart that I'm just like, wow, okay, it could be a Bible verse. It could be something in a sermon. It could be something that somebody said to me directly, or I overheard, or that I saw in a social media post, or just the Holy Spirit convicting me. And conviction really motivates me. I understand where it's coming from, and I understand that it is out of a desired outcome that things will be better on the other side. On the flip of that conviction is manipulation. Manipulation does not motivate me. I can typically spy it a million miles away, and I can see it a lot when it comes to the online business world. I have been doing all of this enough of the podcasting and all that kind of stuff enough that I can see the manipulation. So if you're like thinking about starting something online, you're like, are they manipulating me? Go ahead and send me the story, or send me the reel, or send me the email, and I will let you know where that is coming from. But conviction should motivate us. Manipulation, that should kind of put us on high alert. And so today, I'm hoping that in a good way, this convicts you. Because if you're listening to it, you are maybe like really deep in a slump of consistency, or you are prone to it, or you are thinking, I'm afraid to really get in deep with having a lack of consistency, so I want to kind of head things off at the pass. And so if you are struggling with homeschool consistency, I'm going to encourage you to put your big girl pants on, and I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it now. And again, I'm going to shoot it to you straight, but it's all in love. I had to tell myself this most of my homeschool years, and not even just most years, most days. I would have to say, Leigh, put your big girl pants on. And I have to do that even this homeschool year, because there are other things that can come up, whether they're more fun or they're more serious things, or there are tasks or chores, or who knows what it is. I'm planning this conference right now, and so there's a lot to do. I'm like, no, but I have margin in a day to plan that, as well as homeschool. And so we can come up with lots of excuses about why we can't get to it today. And so most years, most days, I have to say to myself, so I am also speaking to myself, I'm in the same camp as you are. And I have to say, Leigh, put your big girl pants on and let's just do the thing. And so it can hurt to realize for me also that if there is a lack of consistency in our homeschool, it's my own fault most of the time. Now, we are barring extenuating circumstances things, health crisis with you, kids, husband, family, some, you know, tragic events. Besides that, we're just talking about the normal everyday kind of living. There's going to be some ups and downs, but we're not talking about extremes. And even in those extremes, when you kind of level off or you get to a point, well, this may be health diagnosis or this change in where we have to live, this is going to be semi-permanent. This is something, a season we have to go through. And so you can still find consistency within a different rhythm. And if you are there where you're saying, okay, this kind of hurts a little bit, it can. It hurts me too to realize that it's my own fault. You have probably told yourself that this homeschool year, you're saying, this is the year. I have struggled with consistency in the past, but this homeschool year, I am not going to. I am going to be consistent. This is the year I'm going to pull it all together. And maybe at this point, we are in early September. Maybe it's day 1, day 2, day 3, week 3, 4 of your homeschool year, and you're already letting yourself down. Consistency. This is the crux of it all. It's dependent upon the mom. Again, we are barring extenuating circumstances and tragic circumstances and all of that. We're barring that. We're just saying about the day in and day out. Yes, the baby might be teething and might be having you up at night. Yes, you might be having maybe bad dreams with a child, and maybe there's some discipline issues with another child, or another one is struggling with starting to read. All of those things. That's still within the homeschool world. That's normal. That's normal everyday life. And so when it comes down to consistency, it is dependent upon you as the mom. You hold the key to homeschooling actually happening. So you're saying, well, what can inconsistency look like? You're not quite sure if maybe you're being inconsistent, or you're saying, I'm pretty sure, or I know I'm being inconsistent, but what does that look like for other people as well? Is it just me? So here are a couple of things that I definitely noticed in my homeschool when I was being inconsistent, and I can recognize in other homeschoolers as well. And I think the top one is that when we are inconsistent and we are not meeting our educational goals, we are not working through the curriculum that we had chosen to do, we are not working through whatever it is that you had planned for this year, and your kids will notice that. They will capitalize on it. I remember my kids would often, they'd sneak away and you wouldn't hear a peep from them. They knew to be quiet. It was like the one time they would play quiet, and they would be content to play for hours and hours. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playing, but maybe you're saying, okay, I want to be consistent and I want us to start with morning time around 9 a.m. Everybody's up. We can be all ready. They might have had some time to play. And we're just going to start with 20 minutes, 30 minutes of morning time together, then get a couple of math lessons done. Well, 9 o'clock rolls around and you aren't calling them into the living room, or you're not calling them to meet you outside under the tree on a blanket for a little, mid-morning snack or something, second breakfast kind of thing. Guess what? They're not probably going to show up. You're going to have some kids as they get to be older, and maybe they have their own curriculum and their own things that they want to do. They have their own goals. Might be in high school. That's different. Most of the time when it comes to the elementary years, the kids are going to sneak away. They are not going to complain about your inconsistency, because when you are not making them do any certain lessons, they're going to go play and they're going to go have fun, and they're okay with that. Another thing that usually is a telltale sign of inconsistency is that things are just not getting done. You have your maybe a big stack, small stack, whatever it is of curriculum, and you have some goals, you have some vision, you have some Bible times you want to do, you have all these things you want to get done, and they're not getting done. Your house may also be unkept. It might not just be the homeschool. It just might be over everything, because we can often say, it's just a snowball effect. And you're like, I can't keep up with the homeschool, and I can't keep up with the house. I can't keep up with the laundry. I can't keep up with making meals. And so you're going out to eat more. Everybody's just kind of scrounging around. I can't keep up with getting to the grocery store. And so it is a snowball effect. And so you'll start to notice that other things are also you're being inconsistent in them. And so another thing I recognize is that your plans are not being met. You might have had goals for this homeschool year, and you aren't even moving towards those goals. I know it's just the very beginning of the homeschool year, so most likely you have not achieved any of those goals yet, but you're not even moving towards them. It's impossible to reach those goals or even to get closer to those goals if you're not doing it, if you're not putting in the work. Another thing I start to notice is that you will hide your lack of getting things done from your husband and also from others. And in the beginning, it can kind of be like, you can kind of put it off, but it can get to the point where you might have to lie about what you're doing. And we don't want to be doing that. I mean, the Bible says that you shouldn't lie, and we definitely shouldn't be lying and hiding things from our husband. And we shouldn't be making things up and making our homeschool seem so amazing to our friends when we're not putting in the work, we're not actually doing the things. And so we begin to hide the fact that we aren't getting these things done. Now, if the laundry is piling up and there's no food in the house, those kinds of things our husbands can notice. But if the kids aren't getting their math lessons in, if they're not reading more, if you aren't teaching them things, if you aren't guiding them in their home education, your husband might not notice that for a while. And you know that as well. You know that he won't notice for a while, if at all. Some husbands won't notice at all. And so it's very easy to just kind of be like, he won't notice. So we'll just kind of continue on in the inconsistency. Now, some husbands might notice, but oftentimes they just don't. And so that'll be something then that kind of creeps in, is that you have to kind of fib and you have to stretch the truth a bit. The last thing that I notice that inconsistency can lead to is a feeling of guilt. You have some guilt, you have some shame, you have some in your mind. You're like, I know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I told my husband that I would homeschool our kids. We decided this was what we want to do. He is fully supportive, but then you say, I'm not carrying my end of the bargain. You're not doing your part of it. He's willing to help. He's willing to give you the time. Maybe you guys are one income family and he's like, I'll work hard for us so that you can stay home and you can homeschool the kids. And then you're not doing it and you're not keeping up your end of the bargain. You're not keeping up not that it's a bargain or a deal or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we work together with our husbands to accomplish things. And sometimes, it can look like very different things. My husband works. I don't want to go do his job, but he also doesn't necessarily want to do mine. He's like, I don't want to figure out all the groceries and all that kind of stuff. Together, we make our home function and we help move our family forward each day. And so guilt can creep in because in the back of your mind, you know that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You probably have some amazing goals for this homeschool year, but keeping those goals in theory, it doesn't help you to impart the worldview, the wisdom, and the experiences that you want for your kids. And so as homeschool parents, we often have like, this is great. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're exposing, we're going to do all these, we're going to read this great literature. But if you're not consistent in doing those things, then you're not reaching those goals. Those goals are still in theory. They are not actually happening. And so what does it come down to? It comes down to that you aren't giving your kids that worldview that you want to, that you know that you so desperately should give to them. You're not passing on wisdom to them. You're not giving them the experiences and the academic knowledge and that foundation because you're not being consistent with what you need to do. So what do you do? How do you become consistent with your homeschool? Guess what? It's very simple in words, not always in practice. But you just have to do the thing. The thing is homeschool. When it comes to anything, you want to maybe run a 5K. You want to eat better. You want to get better at a certain hobby. You want to learn maybe how to sew dresses. How do you do that? You do that by doing the thing. And so we can recognize that in other areas of our life. Well, I want to get better at whatever it is. Say you have a kid who wants to get better at baseball. Well, he's going to practice, right? You know that consistently practicing is going to help him get better at baseball. For you to get the homeschool done and to reach those goals and to accomplish those amazing goals that you want to, you just have to do the thing. And sometimes you're like, well, what's the thing? What do I need to do in any moment? Oftentimes it sounds very like the words are very small, but it's just you have to sometimes just do the next best thing. And when you get off course, when you realize you say, okay, 9 a.m., and it just all of a sudden it's 9:30, you're like, instead of saying to yourself, oh, well, I missed that. Then you say, nope, I'm going to round the troops up and we are going to get started. We didn't meet the 9 a.m. deadline because maybe you didn't feel like it or the morning just kind of went a little haywire. Things just weren't as smooth in the morning as you would hope them to be. Then you just start at 9:30. It's okay that you didn't meet that deadline. Just do the next best thing. A lot of times us homeschool moms, we're tired, and I get it. Your job also is to get the rest that you can. In some seasons, that's really hard to do, but I'm going to encourage you to turn off the phones, turn off the TVs, get into bed earlier, get the rest that you can. But also, when you are up and you're like, well, I have to be up. I have kids. I have to keep an eye on them because they might leave the house. They're of ages that they need to be watched. People have to know where they are at all times. And at those times, you just have to push through. The moms who are consistent, it's not that they aren't tired. I can almost guarantee that they are tired as well. They're just willing to do the homeschool, to do the thing tired, knowing that the seasons of tiredness will begin to end, but also don't be foolish about it. Get yourself to bed. Don't be like, well, I'm just going to be tired. I might as well just stay up till 1 a.m. No, don't do that. If you are looking at other families and you are really respecting and appreciating the way that those families' children are, guess what? Guess how those children became respectful and kind and considerate and compassionate and engaging and being able to, they're very well socialized. They can talk well to adults and they're doing things and they're glorifying God. Do you know how they got there? It's because their parents were consistent with discipline and discipleship. Those kids didn't get there by their parents just winging it. So use other families as inspiration for you. I had some families that I really looked up to, and I was like, yes. And they inspired me, just knowing that day in and day out, just one foot in front of the other, I got to pull my big girl pants on each day, and I just need to do the thing so that you can get to the end and start to see that fruit. And so that family that I really looked up to is just a season ahead of me. And it's just been so cool to just watch. And so I'm going to make up a last name. Say their last name was Brown. And I was like, oh, the Browns just so inspire me. There came years later, there came a family that was in a season behind us. We'll say the Johnsons. And I started to kind of notice that they were just kind of gleaning information, from us and would say things and were encouraging to us. And I said about the Johnson family, I said, we are like their Brown family. They look up to us. And it was so cool. So imagine being that. And that wasn't in like a haughty, prideful kind of way. I'm like, we get to be inspired by others and then we get to inspire others. So the crux of all of it, how do you, when you're struggling with consistency, how do you get out of that? You just have to do it. You have to decide today is the day. And if it's not quite the day, you just have to make it the day. So if that 9 a.m. comes and goes, and even if it's 11 a.m. before you realize it, do it at 11 a.m. Just do it. It'll take time. You might be able to get to that 9 a.m. You might realize we are not 9 a.m. type of people. We are more 10 a.m. type of people. That's okay. Be realistic in your goals, but just do it today, do it tomorrow, do it the next day. And before you know it, those days are going to add up to weeks, to months, to years, and you're going to have that foundation that you want for your kids. To get that vision and your goals out of your head and to create a plan, I want to encourage you to join your homeschool blueprint. It's not too late for the homeschool year. You can get all the details at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/blueprint. But it's a great way for you to, all of these theoretical ideas you have, like what does this actually look like? That's what we're going to do together in your homeschool blueprint. I look forward to seeing you over there, friend. Let's be consistent. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If it was just what you needed to hear, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend? And if you would like to connect more, social media links and more are in the show notes just for you. I promise to see you back here real soon.